And so we're back. So now, again, as promised, we're bringing you Umu. And this is the episode where we kind of get a bit more intimate with Umu, try to understand or learn about who she is, what she's doing, how her career has evolved over the years, and being a woman in IT. I know that's still a very huge topic at this point. We try to get some insights as to um, how different it is, what the experience was for her, and maybe share a few tips and tricks along the way. So, welcome back, Umu. How are you feeling?
Thanks, Fred. I'm good, and I'm looking forward to this session. Sounds amazing to talk a little bit about my introduction and my history as well as a woman in IT.
There you go, Vlad. Any starting thoughts to get this episode rolling?
Look, this is all about Umu. I think maybe we should just start with an introduction. Tell us who you are, where you came from, how you got to where you are now today.
Thanks, Vlad. So my name is Umu, and nice to meet all the audience. But I have been in the IT industry for over 20 years. But to be honest, I don't think I wanted to be an IT to start with. I was very interested in biology and science when I finished high school, but for some reason I got an opportunity to set up a website or to look at someone who was kind of configuring and building a website, and I was like, wow, that looks pretty cool, pretty interesting. And I would say that's where it started from. So instead of going to do things in science, I found myself trying to learn how to configure or build a website, if anyone remembers, and this is very old, using Dreamweaver, if anyone's going to remember that. But I did start with that. So I guess that's where I had my interest in technology or computing. From there, I did go to uni. I did start in Perth, and I did my bachelor's in IT and mobile computing. But then I got interested in security at that point as well, and I was more focused on computer digital forensics, and that's where I kind of pivoted a little bit towards doing general IT security as well as digital forensics, which was pretty interesting to kind of go through that coursework. In terms of career, I was lucky enough just to start straight out of uni as a help desk support, systems network administration. It was starting at that really level one support where someone says the printer's not working, and then you've got this one person who's going to go and try and fix the printer and things like that. From building out PCs and laptops and setting them up. So really getting into that troubleshooting, managing IT infrastructure, networking servers, etc. But over time, I've sort of
Umu, here's a
transitioned.
fun reference.
Yeah.
You were saying starting out IT help desk. I'm going to reference one comment here. I giving a wink to our audience. Have you at any point used the line, have you turned it off and on again?
Always. I just did it yesterday with my daughter. She's like, Netflix not working. I'm like, turn off the TV and turn it back on again. So it's something I use all the time, even though you're not doing troubleshooting. But yeah, so over time, I've sort of transitioned to what I do today, which is solutions engineering. But you're going to hear different variations of it. You're going to hear solutions consultants, you're going to hear sales engineering, you're going to hear pre-sales engineering, etc. But collectively, what they all mean and what I do day to day is I get to work closely with my customers. I get to understand their unique security needs because I'm concentrating more on that cybersecurity and security side of things. So I get to understand where they're at and then help them navigate and potentially solve those complex cybersecurity challenges that they've got. So day to day in my role, I get to help those customers, design those tailored solutions that not only address those traditional security concerns that we sort of talked about, but moving over to that hybrid workforce that we talked about earlier on. So having the capability to protect your users wherever they are, right? Could be working from home, in the office, or anywhere. Now, it's a role that's combining technical expertise with strategic thinking and that business acumen as well, to keep organizations secure in this increasingly distributed world, right? So it's not just technical, but being a trusted advisor to that customer, having that empathy in place to understand where they're coming from and the challenges they're experiencing, and being there to support them. So that's what my role entails, and I'm really excited to talk more about it as we progress. Thanks, Fred.
Fantastic. From Dreamweaver to, wow, sales and security. That's incredible. Man,
Vlad has done a bit of a web developing stint a while back. Some people might not know about it, but I can see Vlad clapping his hands when you mentioned Dreamweaver, because I knew that brought a bit of nostalgia into his eyes.
Oh man, Dreamweaver, Photoshop, all of those things. And I transitioned out because I could use the tools, but I really wasn't good enough from a design perspective. Was that similar for you as well, by any chance, Umu?
It was, and now I was trying to remember the main vendor for Dreamweaver. I know it's Adobe now, but I don't know, Vlad, do you remember who started it?
Yeah.
But
I honestly, I cannot remember. And it was the same as Flash, right? And all of those other different, and there was something else that was back then with Flash as well, some other sort of similar protocol. Oh man.
I'm a late bloomer myself. Vlad's the one who opened my eyes to Flask, and you can tell how late I was into the game, because I don't even know how to put together a proper website, but I do know the inner workings, and I started with Flask.
Fred was definitely late to the game, but that's okay. These days you've got AI to do half the work for you anyway, right? Yeah. But I digress. When you transitioned into security, Umu, I mean, obviously you're into much more of a white hat role now, in terms of you are here to protect and help people protect. But what originally steered you, I guess, towards security? What was it that was enticing about security? Was there a black hat aspect to your experience that helped you transition? Were you cracking WEP wireless networks back in the day, and that's what got you into security? Or yeah, how did you decide and land towards security?
Actually, disaster recovery and business impact analysis. That's where I started from. That's where I guess my security came about. Not trying to crack WAP or anything of that sort of. It was more of what happens if everything goes down today. What is going to be impacted the most, and where is the business going to sit if we lost everything, basically. That's where I started from. And my first project to get into security was to build that DR capability, I guess. What do we do with backups? Oh, great, we've got backups in place, but we're storing them next to the servers maybe, or they're being stored in the same building as what you're sort of protecting. And then talking to the business as well about, prioritizing in terms of that impact analysis. What's going to happen if I'm an online retailer? What's going to happen if I lose my website? What's the impact to the business on that? That's where I started with security, and then kind of went deeper into endpoint, into identity, into network and things like that. But DR, business impact analysis, will be the first go.
See, it's interesting that you say that, because, and look, this is something that I picked up listening to the guys in Beers with Talos. I'm still calling you guys out. We're still expecting you to invite us in one of your future episodes. But that being said, one of the things that I managed to pick up was, you see how movies around hacking security tend to romanticize the bit where you type a few things on the keyboard and then you're suddenly into somebody's firewall. It's not as glamorous and as sexy as that. See, I'm using that term now, but the actual practice of security is much more boring, if I'm allowed to use that word, than that, because there's a lot more work involved. Like, if you're in the black hat pen testing sort of profession, in my limited knowledge, is that you do a lot of reconnaissance, you do a lot of, sending out these feelers and scanners in the network, hoping that you hit something. and that usually takes a lot of time. And look at, Umu's background coming from the business side of things, DL recovery. Some people actually might think that, oh, okay, well, that sounds pretty boring. But if you understand the overall impact of that, and that kind of gives you an in into the security side of things, I'd say that's something that people need to rethink about, exploring a career in cybersecurity.
Yeah, no, that's very true, Fred. I think it is broad, and majority of the time people get enticed with what we see on the movies and kind of get carried away with that. But yeah, it is broad, and every aspect that you sort of look at in terms of protection comes in different notions.
Love it. Love it. That's such a good way to phrase security. I think it very much goes hand in hand with a lot of what we see out in the world today around, how security is intertwined in anything. But I digress. Back to you, Uma. I guess as you evolved throughout your career, I mean, obviously you went from Dreamweaver, you went then into DR security, servers, backup storage, now cybersecurity, SASE, SSE. I mean, what was your process to, I guess, learn all of these different things, and how did you keep yourself sharp and stay relevant as you went throughout this multiple transitions in your career?
That's a very good question, Vlad. I would like to say it's not something that happens overnight to start with. And just to be transparent and to be honest, it is hard work. You've got to put in the effort in terms of where you want to get to and how deep you want to go. There's a lot of things out there, especially now, especially in this current time frame that we've got. There's just so much, I guess, places you can go to get that information, to keep yourself up to date and to set yourself apart from, I guess, everyone else if you're trying to achieve something. So for me personally, I'm always driven by learning new things. And before I get into that, I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to be a challenge, but I always see the light at the end of the tunnel, because last year things were hard as well, but I finished it and I got certified, and that was a good thing. So if I look at something else, to me it's always, I'm going to get to the end, because last time I did get to the end and I was successful. So there is a lot of learning, and the way I keep myself up to date is keep up with the industry, right? Things are changing every single day. Everything in cybersecurity is changing. Yes, there's a lot to learn, and you can't learn everything, but you can pace yourself out and just say, I might just concentrate on getting certified for the next maybe 6 months, and potentially maybe stick to that depending on the certification you want to do. Or it could be, I want to get hands-on and build something and kind of learn that way. If that's the case, then, and put in the time and effort, if it's feasible, and put up the lab to sort of learn and see how you can actually do things hands-on. So there's a lot out there, as long as you understand what you want to do and you have an end goal. And from there, kind of work backwards to say, certified, then go through this way and put the time and effort to do it. Hands-on, or maybe getting that experience and things like that, put in the time and effort to see if you can build a lab and get that hands-on experience. So that's how I keep myself sharp, and Fred can add to this, where we get to work really closely on in our lab and kind of build things and test things out there, which not only is it us learning, but it's also fun as you kind of go through that process.
I'm not afraid to admit that Umu does a heck of a better job breaking the lab apart. And to those who are running labs, it's actually a good thing that you can break the lab apart and build it back up. And I will definitely say Umu's done a better job of doing that with my own lab setup. So again, look, that's a very good thing. That passion for learning, continuous learning, is something that I can definitely attest to and have witnessed Umu do over and over again.
I love what you mentioned as well a lot, Umu, around like, and it feels like it was very much a theme for you around resilience. It's that I'm going to study something, I'm going to commit to it, I'm going to continue to push forward. And that attitude is more important for you to be able to learn more things. You know, you're learning technical things and that's great, but the attitude to move towards it seems to be like really what kept your edge sharp and helped you stay relevant. In terms of things that you did study, so I mean, obviously we've covered technical things as you transition, you know, from Dreamweaver to cybersecurity. That's a pretty big shift and change. What were some other sort of more, we hate to refer to them as like soft skills, but what were some of the sort of more human EQ-based skills that you learned along the way that you evolved that I guess helped you progress throughout your career as well?
And while you're at that, if you can add to, and this is something I need to pick out from what you said earlier, this is something that has never been said enough, especially for people in our profession, the trusted advisor. And I've learned this concept ages ago, but I feel that it's not, people have not given it enough emphasis. So, how does one become a trusted advisor along the way?
Okay. I'll start with Vlad first, I guess, in terms of soft skills. Not just soft skills, I guess, and not just in the role I'm in today, but being able to communicate and sort of articulate that technology side of things to a business is critical. Now, if I'm an IT manager or if I'm sort of if I'm a network engineer, I understand what the risks are. I understand what it might cost to the business, but we've got to learn a way to kind of explain this to someone who doesn't understand that. So I would say if you're looking at a career in technology and things like that, like Vlad was saying, technology is there. You've got to be able to kind of, configure, troubleshoot, and do all those sorts of things. But also don't forget you've got to present something to a particular board member, or you're going to present something to a particular stakeholder that might not be understanding the same things or the language that you're sort of using. So I think people should also sort of concentrate on how to improve their soft skills or their communication skills, their presentation skills. If there's, I guess, one thing that I do is I go to Toastmasters. I don't know if either of you have heard of Toastmasters, but it is a really good environment to kind of give you that confidence to talk in front of people, to be put on the spot and actually explain something. So one of the things that I do, Vlad, is I always attend my Toastmasters session, and I'm always put on the spot, and I kind of work through that, and that helps me kind of communicate better with my customers, or with just my colleagues, right? So I think those are the soft skills that sort of come with technology as well. But that's just for me. I don't know what you guys think in terms of soft skills or other skills that you might need.
100% agree with you in that sense of communication skills. I've realized that I've had to continuously work on that over the years. Like it's a never ending improvement, or at least there's always room for improvement in improving your communication ways. And look, I've taken a few of those I've taken a page off of Vlad's book. I've seen how he addresses the weirdest, curliest questions coming from customers, and in the most diplomatic sense, tell them they're idiots without really saying the word. But, I digress.
Try not to laugh at this point here. Thank you, Fred. So I think you really hit on a solid point there, which is around like essentially selling yourself. And that's something that you've learned obviously through practicing in Toastmasters. And I think something that doesn't get talked about enough, like, salespeople, let's not make it explicit, but okay, we get a lot of shit, right? Because, you are selling and there's a lot of dirty connotations with being a salesperson at times. But when you think about it, when you're in a business, and I'm sure you probably felt this in your previous role, Umu, as well. And Scott brought it up too when he was, an IT person at a company before his role at Cisco. He had to sell the solution internally to his board members to say, we need to buy XYZ technology product because it's going to have XYZ, ABC, ROI for our business as a whole. but then vying for yourself as well. You have to sell yourself in the business when you're going to go put yourself up for a promotion. When you're interviewing, you're essentially selling yourself. Like sales is inherently intertwined in every part of our life in terms of, you know, where you have to promote yourself essentially. So I like that you've called that out as something, you know, that's important, that's been important to you as part of, I guess, your evolution in all of your different roles.
Yeah, I think I've got another question to answer there for trusted advice. Okay, the way I think of trusted advisor, and this is in the role that we all do here as a solutions engineer or in sales. You're communicating to the customer. The customers come to you because you're in some shape or form the expert. So they want to know that, you know, you've got their back. So you being that trusted advisor isn't just, hey, this is how things work. My product is the best, or this product is the best, and you should get this. It's coming up as that trusted advisor. You're coming in with empathy, right? You don't know where they're coming from or if they've been breached and they don't want to share that. Now, to earn that trusted advisor title, I would think the customer would have to genuinely feel like it's not about you selling, because we're all sellers and we want to kind of sell that product. But I think it's very important to make them treat them as the humans they are, and what they're going through. Like I said, they might not share that they've been breached. So they want to know that where you're coming from is to help them and not just to help yourself sell the product and things like that. So from that trusted advisor, I genuinely like to build that relationship, or that genuine relationship, that I'm here to help you with the complex security challenges that you have with the products that I sell. So it's trying to build that, and you don't go and build that by saying I know everything and I do everything. So listening to them, giving them the space they need, letting them vent if they have to, because they've gone through something potentially, and then trying to work out and see how you can help them. So getting that trusted advisor means your customers really, really trusting not just your product, but your intelligence as well, and knowing that they're in good hands by working with you.
And tell me if you agree with this, Umu, and here I go again with the whole concept, and I've brought this up in the past. One of the hallmarks of a good engineer and a trusted advisor at that is knowing when to actually say no to your customers. I mean, some people might think this is counterintuitive. Ask any salesman, and they will say, you never say no to a customer, always tell them yes, because whatever, customers are always right. But from our standpoint as engineers, it is our job to keep our customers grounded in reality. And I sincerely believe that this is one of the best ways to build trust.
Totally agree. Yes, because sometimes you might not be the right one to help them, right? You might not have basically what they're after. And if you want to earn that trust from them, is me telling them, hey, how about you go to Fred? Because Fred can do this better, right? And I feel that credibility might even bring that customer back to you, because you didn't just say yes to everything. You couldn't do something and you were upfront about it, and you even told them to maybe go to someone else, or even to go to a competitor, because you can't do that. So that adds up to that trusted advisor. And if I was a customer, I would absolutely go back there, because this person treated me with respect and not just another buyer.
But always say it in the nicest possible sense.
Yes.
I like
awesome.
that. Yeah. I feel like both of you have been really hitting on a topic around essentially like business acumen and treating other people as humans, right? Like the technology, yes, it's there. The technology is to be used and consumed in a very specific way to get specific outcomes. But at the end of the day, it's very much all about the relationship that you're building. Very, very cool. So rolling into it. Yes, Fred.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just leading into that whole conversation around being a trusted advisor and being able to gain the confidence of your customers. Let's step step into the shoes of a cybersecurity sales engineer or cybersecurity engineer in general. Like we know for a fact that sometimes people acknowledge that security solutions aren't always the cheapest. And I've learned this analogy some time ago that buying a security solution is like buying insurance. You'll be glad to know that it's there when you need it. But if it's not, sometimes people see it as another cost to their, ledger sheet or whatever in their budget book. So, Vlad, this is kind of, you see where I'm going with this. This is kind of leading into that whole business acumen. Let's just put it this way. We're kind of rounding out that whole three concepts that we've covered around, being able to communicate properly, being able to gain the trust of your customers, and being able to effectively become the trusted advisor for them. And the question here is, how do you handle things? And it's not always rainbows and butterflies. It's not always going to be a smooth sailing conversation with customers. You will have customers who are, I don't know, either skeptical about your solution. They're either very budget conscious or they just plain don't care about what you're selling to them. How do you address these things? How do you kind of convince them that what you're proposing to them is actually what they need?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you broke it down into three parts where one, a buyer will be like, why do I even want to do this? And maybe I'll start with that one and kind of break them apart that way. Sometimes they are skeptical and they might say, oh, but I've got X. Why should I need Y? Or why do I need to add another option? So one way I look at it to kind of remove that skepticism or to kind of remove that doubt is, if at least they're thinking about it, but they're just skeptical, then I would kind of talk to them about trying it out, right? Majority of the time, that's how we do things. Before I buy a jacket, I go to the shop and I try it out, right? Buying it online might look good, but I don't know if it's going to fit me well. So I would go try it out and kind of see if it's the right fit and go from there. Now, similar to a customer who's either sitting on the fence just because I don't know how it's going to work, or I want to see what it looks like before I take the next steps. So in that instance, then you kind of work with the customer. And what I do day to day as well is I would give them the confidence that it's not just you, right? You've got this person who's working with you to show you what those capabilities are or what those functions are. That might remove the skepticism of, I don't know if I need this. There's also the aspect of, like you say, there's a budget side of things. In that instance, that's usually a hard discussion. But if you're already talking about it, there's a requirement or there's a need, of course. I know there's that budget aspect of it, but sometimes you look at it from a customer side of things, from a customer side point of view, and from me as maybe a trusted advisor or maybe an expert in that field, is basically you're here talking to me today. Is there a compliance reason behind it? Is there, what's going to happen if you don't do X, right? And let's just we're talking about cybersecurity, so let's take an example of breach. You want to do this, but you're conscious a little bit about the budget. Have you thought about, and majority of people do think about this, so have you thought about what's going to cost you if you actually get hacked or breached, right? So sometimes some customers know about this, and maybe it's just creating that awareness. And sometimes maybe they haven't thought about it that way. And maybe they haven't sat down to say, okay, if I don't do this costs me, for the sake of it, $1,000. But if I don't do anything about it, it might cost me $50,000. So in that instance, it's pretty much putting it out there and giving them that awareness. Again, with empathy, understanding that, budget is sensitive, right? So you've got to meet them halfway to know why they are budget conscious or price conscious, and then talk to them about what happens if you don't do anything. Sometimes you have to get real as well, right? You got to go into that reality as well. Again, like you said, in a nice way, to try and let them know that what happens if you don't do this today. They should be able to answer that question. I don't know if I missed anything else there, Fred.
No, that was good.
Yeah. No, very good. I know often a lot of customers assume, I won't get hacked. Nothing will happen to me. Why would I get targeted? But it's not necessarily always about that, right? It's very easy for someone to make a few misclicks on the internet and suddenly they've downloaded some sort of ransomware on their computer and locked themselves out, right? So like you say, and like Fred said as well, alluded to, there's a bit of an insurance policy aspect to it. So, it's always, I guess, finding out what's the lowest cost, balance the budget, but get some sort of maximum reward or necessity out of it, right? It's a delicate game, isn't it? No, I appreciate that. Now,
and that's why there's also different ways of buying solutions, which is something that you have to talk to with your vendor. But yeah, back to you, Vlad.
No, I appreciate that. I think we're getting to the top of the podcast hour here, or the half hour, I should say, right on the dot. So I guess if we want to sort of wrap up and summarize a lot of what you've said, Umu, around, resilience, learning, but also making sure to understand business acumen and pairing that with technical aptitude, being able to sell a solution internally within your business, recognizing what are the ROI for the business. Like, these are a lot of things that have helped you, I guess, grow throughout your career. But I don't want to talk in your place too much. I guess I'd like to understand and know from you, like, what's a single piece of advice that you could give for people who are early in career, or people who are, for example, on the infrastructure side, looking to pivot their journey perhaps into sales? And I mean, we didn't really cover it today, but for you as a female in the tech industry as well, you are certainly less in number than we'd like. What would you say to all of the women out there that want to explore as well, like STEM and getting into that part of the journey? What do you have for everyone out there?
Okay, I might start with the female engineers. Go out there and give it a shot. It is possible. It is doable. If you have any interest in it, don't be scared by saying, I can't do X. Give it a shot. That's not always the case. And the reason why I say this, especially for, I guess, not just female engineers, but I guess just female in general trying to get into that security side of things or into IT. What you would hear majority of the time is we would look at female in general, you'd look at the job description, and they might 6-7 tasks or things have been listed there that you should have or you should know. And majority of the time what you would see is I can do 7 out of 9, and then leave it and go like, okay, I can't do this, and not even bother trying. So the advice I'd like to give to anyone who thinks that way, whether you're female or male, is don't let that stop you. Just open that door, and you might be given an opportunity to learn. So don't completely dismiss it because I'm missing 2 things out of that 9 list that I've been given. Open the door to find out what lies ahead. So that's just not just to the female engineers or anyone who wants to get into IT. Give that a go. In terms of advice I'd give to, I guess, early career starters who are sort of looking into whether it's IT in general or cybersecurity, again, give it a go. If you do give it a go, that's the first step. The second step when you look at technology is it doesn't stop where you've kind of started. Things are always going to get innovated. We're going to get new stuff coming out. So be prepared to get out of that comfort zone to learn new things. And if you're in early career and you're starting to do this, one advice I'd give is, document everything you're doing at your own pace, at your own time. This comes in handy when you go out into the field and you're trying to get a role or you're trying to apply for jobs and things like that. When you document every small thing you've done, everything you've done to keep yourself sharp and staying relevant, then you've got this portfolio in place that you can share with employers and share that, and that kind of sets you apart as well. So for anyone out there who wants to try technology in general or cybersecurity, anyone can do it. You just have to find somewhere to start from and take it from there.
I really love that. And I think, and this is a non-gender bias thing, this is in general, right? In technology, a lot of us put a brave face, and the more senior you become, the more you feel like you have to know everything about everything. And that it's really actually not the case, right? If we all learn to speak our feelings honestly, we'd all be able to realize that, there is, like you say, Umu, so much changing in the world. I love that phrase. It's so Australian. Just give it a go. Just, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and
powerful.
what really stood out to me about what Umu said is, and this is something I probably should be doing more of, is being able to document everything that you've been doing. I mean, we always get caught up in this technology and that technology. I mean, a few weeks back, I was telling Umu I'd be studying this technology, and I still haven't followed through halfway through it, and I got caught up in other stuff. So, yes, being able to document that, that's a discipline that definitely will serve you in the long run.
Now, I'd love to ask one sort of final question before we go into closing remarks. I know that the workplace is a tough place to be in. What can male engineers and even female engineers do to help make the workplace more accommodating for other female engineers and help encourage more women to get into STEM and take that leap into technology?
I'd say awareness. We need to go out there to communities, to schools, to kind of let people, female engineers or male engineers, just let them know what's out there and the people who are doing it, and to give examples. I think sometimes seeing is believing. So you could talk about STEM all you want, you could talk about AI all you want, but if I've got someone that I can talk to and I can ask questions or I can see where they've come from, that personally for me, that helps because someone else has done it. It's possible. I can put the challenge out to myself. So I think we need to create awareness, and it is being done. There are organizations that are coming up, and they're kind of helping female in general. It's not just female. I think male can join as well. But they're putting up. I'm gonna call them out. Australian Women's Security, AWSN. Australian Women's Security Network, and they do a fantastic job in terms of having mentorship in place, having pathways and courses that people can switch careers from. I could be a teacher, but having such an organization that's able to give me a pathway, that's able to help me get mentors that can sort of help me and sort of navigate things is amazing. So to me, kudos to such organizations that are kind of paving the way for generally women to get into security, but also to have men also helping in that mentorship and telling women that they can do it as well. I think it goes two ways.
I love it. Wow, I feel so separated from everything that's happening in Australia. So it's so fantastic to hear that there's just like such an organization that exists and that it's actually so powerful. So mentorship, the name of the game. I love it. I love it. I guess any final comments from yourself, Umu, Fred? Any final thoughts?
No, I do agree with, and I reiterate the fact that it is very important. If you're not working with a mentor, you probably should be thinking about it and start, it doesn't have to be someone really great or huge in the industry, just someone that you respect and look up to, and think that if this person can help you grow, and a mentor-mentee relationship doesn't have to remain static. You can so choose if you want, but it doesn't have to remain the same one for the rest of your life. It could be, meet people along the way. You can even have more than one mentor. It's, something that I wish I have been taught early on in my career.
Yeah, no, spot on. I think last thing for me is if you want to have a go for it.
There you go.
Well, you heard it first here, folks. Just give it a go. If there's anything that you take away from this episode, and even the one from Scott's, right? I think we've heard now in multiple episodes, it's all about just giving it a go. Gonna hang that on the wall one day. Very, very good. Well, Umu, thank you again so much for your time today in this episode of the Packet Party. To all of our listeners, make sure you find us on LinkedIn, hit subscribe on any of the platforms. I always hate calling that out. We haven't called it out in previous episodes, but I figured
now we have to.
It's probably about time to, right? Now that this is going to be number 4 for us, officially speaking. And then if you include the others, it'll be about 6. So yeah. If you guys want to find Umu, she is on LinkedIn, I believe. You are there, Umu?
Yes, I'm there. Yep.
Fantastic. So if you have any other questions for her, I'm sure she'd be willing to. Feel free to connect. Find myself and Fred there too as well. We're always happy to answer questions, or if you want to be on the show, do reach out, let us know. Some of you have already been reaching out. Really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. See ya.